Well, first thing we're going to look here is at some of the quality of the root. Sioux Ginseng digs this out of the fields, and they pick these roots out specifically with the crowns and the good root rootlets, or the fine parts of it. They go through it. We even, once we get them here to package them, we actually still kind of pick through them a little more to make sure there ain't broken crowns, because if the crown or the bud ain't there, you're not going to get a root out of it, and we don't want to be sending something that's not a high quality product to you folks. Once you get your rootlets figured out and we get our pound weight up, and we've got a bag package here, but we use some peat moss, moisten the peat moss down, package the rootlets, and you can see here we've got a package with the rootlets in it. And the peat moss, that's helped keeps the moisture there, kind of protects the crowns and stuff in shipping. We utilize 2-day, second-day air or ground, depending on how far you are, to make sure that it don't sit on a truck for a weekend. We typically only ship on Mondays and Tuesdays, and this way we guarantee you're going to have it freshest as possible, and then you can get it in the ground as quick as possible, because obviously that's going to be the best way to ensure that that root's going to survive the season. We're here to plant some of our rootlets that we dug out of our cultivated gardens this year. These are the same rootlets that you can buy from your Sioux's growing supplies or through Sioux Ginseng Enterprises or online. They're good, high quality rootlets. You make sure the buds are good, there's no rot, no damage to them. So you see we got an area here we've been planting a little bit every year. We got some fencing up to protect from the deer and the critters. The turkeys get in and scratch all the leaves and stuff off. And one good key is to make sure you got good cover on your roots. So you can see we got some straw here. Last year when we planted, the leaves were already gone by the time we got it planted, so we had to use a little straw to help protect. So I'm going to clear a spot out here, get the leaves and the straw out of the way so I can get to the soil, so I don't mix that leaf and that straw debris in with the soil when I make my trenches to plant my roots. Now I'm going to take my hole here and I'm going to dig in here and make a nice trench. You want to make a good, nice, fairly deep trench, because it'll make it easier to plant them rootlets so they don't look like transplants. You want to make sure you got get them placed in the ground just right, otherwise the legs will curl on them, and then when you dig them out later, they'll look like they're been transplanted, and you won't get as much money for them. So we're going to get down here and we're going to take our rootlets and we plant them at a little bit of an angle, kind of make sure we get them laid in the ground. And I lay them up against the backside, and then when I make my next trench, I'll put that dirt up against that rootlet to help protect it and keep it in there. All right, and you see I got the first root placed in here, and I got the hairs and everything all kind of laid nice and easy. The next one I'll lay in here, and you want to keep them about 6 inches apart, because otherwise they'll start fighting against each other for the territory. So you get this in, sometimes you got to put a little soil in to help kind of make sure they stay nice and straight and flat. And we'll just keep moving right along here. You always want to lay them at a slight angle to the side, and then back a little bit. And then when you cover up, you got to be a little careful when you cover. So I'll lay a row of roots here. And then we'll take our hoe and I'll dig another trench alongside of it, and I'll kind of take that soil and nice and easily try to push it up on there. And you might have to go back and push the soil back up on it a little higher once you get your next furrow dug. Get the rocks out of there so they grow nice and easy. And I like to do is I got all this extra here, I'll just kind of take this and I'll bring it back, and I'll just kind of fill in back along the top, make sure they're planted good and decent. It's like any other transplant in your gardens or anything, you make sure you got them good and packed in tight so there's no air spaces. And then by the trench I dug here now, I can plant another row again. And you just keep doing that over and over. Just lay your next row of roots in, and in no time you'll have your pound of rootlets planted, and you'll be ready for the crop to come up next year. If you got a buddy to help you, then you can have one guy can be planting and the other guy can be making the trenches for it. So and you try to keep your rootlets, you know, about 6 inches apart, and try to space your rows about 6 inches apart, so you kind of get a 6x6 stand. You know, like I said, when you make a trench, you got a little extra here, so just kind of keep working it up in and make yourself a nice bed, and in no time at all, you have a nice stand of ginseng. Now we got our rootlets all planted here in our nice little bed, so now we want to make sure we get a good cover. So we're just going to take the material that was here, and we're just going to pull it over and make a nice layer of material back over the top of the bed. And then next spring, this will help protect it from too much of a harsh conditions for the winter. And next spring you'll have good cover, because one thing I found is if your rootlets aren't covered with straw or some type of leaf debris, they won't come back. For some reason, they got to have some type of cover on the crowns and over the top of the root, or they won't. For some reason, they won't come back. I think it's got something to do with the cold weather penetrating too far, and it kills off the bud. So other than that, that's about what it takes to plant your transplants that you buy from Sioux Ginseng, and hopefully your crop grows and you have good luck with it.